Hello there, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to the second episode of my Dumb Little Wrestling podcast. And today, we're going to be talking about AEW Forbidden Door 2023. It was a few days ago. And what a show it was, man. What a killer show. There's a few things that were, it wasn't a hit or miss show, but there were some things that were a little weaker, I guess. I guess that's the right word. But I don't know. I overall enjoyed it. To give you a rough idea, I'd say maybe like an 8.5 out of 10. There were reasons that we'll get into later that like things didn't work out how I thought they would. But let's not waste too much time here. How are you? How is everybody? just thought I'd check in on you. But hope you enjoyed Forbidden Door. If you didn't watch it, hey, that's whatever. And if you did watch it, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I did a little poll on my community tab about was it amazing, pretty good, okay, not that great, or terrible. And it seems like a lot of people have been voting for amazing and the pretty good, so that's good that it was an enjoyable show for a lot of people. But let's start with the rundown. That's what we do here. We look at different wrestling events every week. Last week we did Money in the Bank 2010 to get ready for Money in the Bank 2023 coming up this weekend in London. It's going to be at a weird start time for us Americans, about like 2 p.m. I think. For me, is when it starts. 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I don't know. But that's looking like it's going to be a pretty good show. It's going to be a busy week for this channel. Today we have the podcast, if you're listening to it this Wednesday. Tomorrow is predictions. Thursday is Money in the Bank predictions. Friday is a top 10 Money in the Bank cash-ins. I'm working on it now. I just finished the script. I got to record it and then edit it. Hopefully it'll be out Friday at 10 a.m. usual time. If not, it might be out Friday afternoon. But either way, even if it's late, it will be coming out. And so, yeah, let's get into Forbidden Door. We're going to kick off with the kickoff, or the pre-show. They like to call it 0 hour. We had matches. All the matches on the pre-show were good. Nothing crazy happened, but they were solid matches. And, I love when they put matches on the pre-show. WWE, for some reason, stopped doing that like a year ago. I don't know why. It was a good way to fill time, because all they do is just, hype up matches, and if people haven't been paying attention to the weekly shows, they're gonna need a little bit of filler to see hey, what's going on, fill me in. But we had a bunch of matches. They filled up this pre-show to get everybody involved, and I like that. You might not like Tony Khan adding a bunch of matches on a card and making the show 3 to 4 hours, but more wrestling for me. I'm fine with it. Even if I'm tired, I could always watch the last couple matches the next day, type of thing. But we had Best Friends and Rocky Romero and El Desperado versus the Mogul Embassy, and Mogul Embassy win. Good match, fun match. I love Desperado. Best Friends along with Rocky were trying to get him in on the hug and putting the hands in. It was very good stuff. Then we had Athena and Billy Starks in the Owen Hart tournament for the women's side of things. Athena moves on. She'll be facing, I believe, Willow. I don't know when exactly, but that should be a good match. I'm looking forward to Willow versus Athena. Billy Starks put in a good performance. There was a spot where she did a swanton and hit the apron. Very rough, but very cool. And yeah, good match. I hope Billy Starks is used more in AEW. I don't know if she's signed. I don't think she is, but I know she does a lot of indie stuff. But I hope to see more of Billy Starks on AEW. Then we had Los Ingobernables de Japón versus the United Empire. TJP was in that match. I knew he was in United Empire. I don't keep up with New Japan stuff, but I know he's doing that stuff with the UE, with Jeff Cobb and Aussie Open, and there's a lot of other people with Ospreay's group. But LIJ won. I'm pretty sure. I think they pinned TJP, or TJP tapped out. I can't remember about the kickoff shows. I wasn't really paying attention, but I just know good action, fun stuff. And then probably my favorite match on the pre-show was El Phantasmo against Stu Grayson. It's just a lot of interesting moves. It's just kind of a randomly thrown together match, but they just gelled together so well, in my opinion. Probably my favorite out of the pre-show matches, but they were all solid. A couple of them were fun. Just nice little pre-show stuff. But let's go into the main show. We have, to kick off, the guy that does not want to be there. He thinks New Japan Pro Wrestling. He thinks it's just an indie promotion. Yucky. Well, we have MJF AEW World Championship match going against Tanahashi. And I'm gonna be straight up. This match was fine. Tanahashi is limited because of, he's been doing this for years. So I'm not going to be like, oh, you didn't put in a 5-star match? How effing dare you retire? It's nah, man. He's a legend. Let him do his thing. Let him get some spotlight. Good for him. It wasn't awful by any means. It's just, when you think of an AEW World Championship match, you think of all the big stuff going on. But this was just to have a good match featuring a New Japan guy against AEW champion MJF. But Tanahashi and MJF was an okay match. MJF actually scheduled a tweet because he thought he'd be done with the match against Tanahashi, but in the middle of the match, the tweet, went out, and it's like, Max, you're still in there, buddy. 5 minutes, huh? You thought you'd beat him in like 5 minutes? So that was a nice little touch. I think the reason why I'm not too disappointed in this match is because I didn't have high expectations. So it is what it is. I still think the match was okay. The finish was kind of lame with the, referee stuck in the corner. Let me hit him with the boom, the Dynamite Diamond Ring. But it's MJF, and it wasn't a main event world title match. So there's nothing really to totally complain about here. I'm fine with that. The story going in is MJF not wanting to be there and getting out as quick as he can. And he's going to be doing all that stuff with Adam Cole, which should be some fun stuff. I can't wait to see about that blind tag team tournament thing, the random pairings. It could go well. I think it will, but it could also be a little awkward. But I think it should be some fun at least. They're trying something, so good for them. But yeah, okay match to open the show. I feel like maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't feel like a hot opener, but I'm not totally upset with it. But then, sleeper match for me. I did not think this match would be anything special. Like, I thought it'd be good. I'd enjoy it. But I loved this match way more than I thought I did. And it was mainly because of the crowd. We had Punk versus Kojima in the Owen Hart tournament, first round action. And the crowd were going nuts for CM Punk. They were booing him, and Punk was playing along. They were eating it all up, the crowd and Punk. It was amazing. That was a main event level match. That could have main evented any Dynamite, hell, even a pay-per-view. I mean, there wasn't any, like, crazy spots, no crazy moves, but it was just, like, simple, but, like, good crowd work, good back and forth, CM Punk called back to his, like, ROH interview or whatever it was like, Lariat, Kojima, like, that was fun. I've been seeing clips of that on Twitter leading up to the event, and seeing it happen in the ring was just funny. Kojima, oh my god. I thought I was the only one that picked it up, but I saw more people on Twitter later on. Kojima hits an elbow drop, but damn, that caught Punk right in the balls, man. He dropped the elbow right on his dick. What the hell? Oh, but it was, whatever. It was just a fun match. CM Punk, I believe he got scooped over into like the Timekeepers area, I want to say. The match was second, and I haven't rewatched the show or anything like that. I just kind of was taking notes mid-show. I wasn't going to take notes and just try to recall a bunch of the stuff I liked from memory, but I want to make sure I'm kind of organized here. But yeah, good match. I think it was probably, besides like the two big matches on the show, I think this might be my favorite match. I'd say sleeper match of the night. Like, people weren't going into it, they weren't excited about it, but after it happened, I'm like, wow, those two really, really did good. But then they dropped some news. After this match, they dropped some news. All Out, September 3rd. It's going to be in Chicago. I believe someone mentioned it was going to be in Chicago a while ago, and I used that for my fantasy booking stuff. I mentioned last week, MJF, who's going to take the title off him. I'm going to do a fantasy booking video on that. I've been working on that. I want to make sure it's good. So yeah, but it's going to be a big week for AEW, man. Sunday the 27th of August is going to be All In at Wembley Stadium in London. Then that Wednesday you got Dynamite. Then Saturday's Collision. And then again on Sunday, September 3rd, it's going to be All Out in Chicago. It's like, what are they going to do for All In? You would think MJF's going to defend his title in London because it's going to be a huge show, their biggest show. But then they're like one of their biggest pay-per-views, like no offense to Revolution and Full Gear, but Double or Nothing and All Out are like their two big shows. Their WrestleMania and their SummerSlam, if you will. That's just what I look at it as. They're not going to have MJF defend a title twice in 7 days, are they? I feel like that's not in his character, and if so, like, just a little spoiler for what I think would happen at All Out is like, because Punk's been calling out MJF, or not calling him out, but like, hey, nobody beat me until someone can fill my boots. I'm standing here and I'm keeping my boots on, and he likes his boots apparently. So I thought they were going to do MJF versus Pepsi Phil in Chicago. But if they have a match featuring them at All In London, what if one of them gets injured? Because, I know Punk's been doing good so far his first few matches. He's had 3 matches since his comeback, and he's been looking fine. But, I'm a little worried for the guy. I don't know. It's just a weird setup. I really wish they weren't so close together. I mean, I like that they're so close together, but, I just don't know what they're going to do. I mean, hopefully it'll all work out. Hopefully injuries do not plague that weekend. I know Bryan Danielson, at the end of the podcast, will be talking about his match with Kazuchika Okada. But news is already out that he messed up his forearm, he broke his arm, and it's worse than they thought. He was thinking 6 to 8 weeks, but his wife, Brie Bella, or Brie, what did they change their last name to? Garcia twins? It's worse than they thought, and that sucks. I think he might miss All In and All Out. That's just a bummer, because it's Bryan Danielson. He's, one of the biggest workhorsers. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. He's one of the best guys they have in that company, and it sucks he's gonna miss a big show like that. Maybe he'll make it. I don't know. I don't know anything about injuries. But yeah, moving on. I just wanted to go past that huge week, and I don't know what they're gonna do. But now we had the Fatal 4-Way for the international title. Orange Cassidy defending against Shibata, Daniel Garcia, and Zack Sabre Jr. And what a fun, fast-paced little match this Fatal 4-Way was. We had early on everybody locking in their own submissions on poor little Orange Cassidy. He's just so tired, man. But here he is in the Fatal 4-Way defending his title. There's strikes being thrown between Sabre Jr., Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. And Daniel Garcia's doing his little dance. And just every time they hit him, he backs up and he does this little dance, man. Daniel Garcia is so funny. He is just because he can go nobody's business in that ring. But then he can also, pull out that sports entertainment side of his and just let it all out. It's funny. I was surprised he got that little dance over. But everybody in AEW is good at getting little dumb things over with the crowd. Like Jake Hager's hat, Daniel Garcia's little dance. Just good stuff. But yeah, then later on in the match, Shibata and Orange Cassidy, they sit down cross-legged and they're just, boom, they're slapping, throwing chops at each other. Very cool spot. And at the end, of course, as most Orange Cassidy title defenses go, he wins and retains the title by a sneaky little roll-up. And it was a very well-paced match. Say what you will about Orange Cassidy's reign, but he is putting in that work. The most defending champion this year, and probably in most recent, I feel like he's defended that. I feel like he's on the same level of the John Cena US Open Challenge. Orange Cassidy, I think, has had more matches than Cena back in 2015 defending the US title. But that's what it feels like. Every week he's out there and he's going. If he's defending the title, it's a good match. If he's not, he's still doing something. So I'm glad Orange Cassidy is featured a lot. He's one of my favorites, and I'm glad he's making the international title feel like one of them. That title just got introduced last year, right? The All-Atlantic Championship at last year's Forbidden Door. Then it got changed to the international title. And what a year that title's had. Pac won it. Had a great series with Orange Cassidy where Orange Cassidy won it. And now Orange is just on a tear. So that leaves me thinking, who the hell is going to take the title off Orange Cassidy? I feel like a lot of ideas been thrown around as Pac could win it in London. Which I'm all for Pac winning some gold. But then that would be only 2 people to ever hold the international title. You had Pac win it, Orange win it, and then it's gonna go back to Pac. It's it'll be a good match. And they have story to it, but I feel like it should be maybe either an up and coming heel or someone like a Lance Archer who could be pushed back up in that top monster heel spot, and win that title off of Orange Cassidy. Swerve Strickland was probably the best chance we got to a real good heel taking the title off Orange Cassidy in the recent months, I think. I wouldn't have been mad at all if he won the title. I wouldn't have even been mad if Buddy Matthews won it a couple months ago. But I think I don't want Pac to win it. I want him to be doing something big and important at All In, but I don't want him to win the international title. I think he can go on either for another title or just have a big match just in general. Maybe he can challenge MJF. That'd be fun. But yeah, either way, Orange Cassidy retains that title. I'm loving his reign. And we're going to move on to a match that I liked. It was it was a good match. But damn, just like the AEW title match, this was for the IWGP Championship. Sonata against Jungle Boy Jack Perry with Hook at ringside, and Doki was also in Sonata's corner. Doki and Jungle Boy had a good match on Rampage. Maybe he'll be featured more. I liked him. He was pretty good. But this match was like... It felt like 7 minutes. It was probably like around 10 or 11, but damn, this match felt really quick. Like, I know whenever I'm taking notes about anything, you know, the couple seconds my eyes are off like the screen, it's like, oh shoot, I might have missed something, and maybe that's why the matches feel shorter than they are. But I don't know, man. It didn't have a great build to it. It's New Japan's top prize, so I kind of feel bad for Sonata. But at the same time, last time I was like watching Sonata somewhat, continuously. He was tag teaming with Evil back when they were in LIJ, I think it was. So seeing Sonata now as New Japan World Champion and IWGP champion, it's cool. I've always liked Sonata. I thought he was good in the tag team with Evil. I saw some of his single stuff, and I liked him. I liked his like tall haircut he had, but now he's just kind of chill, basic looking New Japan star. But he can still go. It was a nice match, but the main focus of this match was Jungle Boy and Hook are like, hey man, everything's okay, I guess. And then, boom, Jungle Boy clotheslines, heavy clothesline to Hook on the stage. Hook's head hits the entrance ramp, and Taz is like, oh, what the hell, man? That's my son. You effed up, Jungle Boy, you effed up. Taz really, I've seen a lot of people praise Taz as his, in his part of this heel turn. And just him on commentary, just silent, and then be like, oh, you fucked up, Jungle Boy, you fucked up. Like, him being, like, so serious and so, like, heated over his son getting, like, you know, attacked. It really added to it than just attack on the entrance ramp, pick up the FTW title, and then, you know, he tossed it to Hook while he was laying on the floor. But even in a backstage interview, Hook said, Jack, you fucked up. So we'll see what happens. We're going to hear from Jack Perry tonight on Dynamite, so I'm interested in to see what Jack Perry has to say. But yeah, it was a solid match. Sonata won with a Shining Wizard and then a moonsault, which, since I'm not familiar with him, I'm sure that's like his like winning combo maybe. I think he has a submission called like Skull Landing, I think it was. But it was just weird seeing a match end with a moonsault. You don't see that too often unless it's like Io Sky, and I can't even think of anybody that does a moonsault as their finisher nowadays. But it was an alright match. It just felt really quick. But the big takeaway is the heel turn. I hope Jack Perry has a good heel run. He's been... I think I talked about it in the tier list I did for AEW, their roster. Like, the hate just felt like it came out of nowhere. It was, you know... He, like, wasn't super great on the promos leading up to, not Forbidden Door, Double or Nothing in the Pillars Fatal 4-Way, and people were like, oh, fuck him. He sucks. I hate him. But, like, not even a few months before that, they're like, yeah, Jungle Boy, let's go. F you, Christian. You dad-hating son of a bitch. Let's go, Jungle Boy. But, to be fair, Christian was cutting great promos, and I can understand why Jungle Boy maybe wasn't the favorite in that feud. But Christian Cage is a gem, and we don't deserve him, so protect him at all costs. But we're going to move on to probably the top 3 matches of the night. We had the 10-man tag. We had the Elite Young Bucks and Adam Page teaming up with Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii, who's going to be facing Jon Moxley tonight on Dynamite. That's going to be a banging match. Can't wait to see that. And we had the Blackpool Combat Club, Yuta, Claudio, Moxley, Shooter, you know, Shota Umino, I think. I know his last name's Umino, I don't know, but I think it's Shota Umino. And then we had Tall, Dark, and Sexy, Konosuke Takeshita. You know, what a fun match. The entrance for the Elite, the crowd were singing. I think this was like the loudest I've ever heard a crowd sing Wayward Son. Wow, dude. Like, I know this might sound cringy, but I kind of got, like, chills. It was beautiful, bro. Like, don't you cry no more. Like, oh my god, dude. That crowd was amazing. They needed... I hope they're as lively as they were for the show. Like, I hope they'll continue to stay that rowdy going through, like, the Canadian tour AEW's doing right now. I think there's, like, maybe 5 more shows they're doing. A couple Dynamites, a couple Collisions, I think. A lot of Owen Hart stuff going on. Should be a good few weeks for AEW, crowd-wise. But, yeah, fun match. everybody got, like, I think everyone had a good little chance to shine. You know, if they didn't have, like, a big moment, they at least, like, you know, like, people like Shota Umino, they were introduced to him since I think this might have been his first match in AEW. I know he got attacked by Jericho last year when he was doing the Fireball Wizard stuff. But now he's actually having a match on Forbidden Door, so that's cool. Moxley and Eddie are, like, probably the highlight of this match. All the drama and story surrounding them. Eddie hates Claudio. He wants to get some on Claudio. But, you know, Moxley's on his team, and Moxley's like, hey, man, you want to fight him? You got to fight me. Eddie doesn't want to, but once they get tagged in, they are chopping each other back and forth, and everyone's getting their spots. And the Young Bucks and everybody, they brawl in the ring while Eddie and Mox are chopping each other. Bucks do a couple of dives outside. Hangman does his big moonsault to the outside, and Moxley and Kingston are just continuously chopping each other. It's such good. Just that visual of everything crazy going on the outside and then in the ring, it's just like some basic chops, heated strikes to one another. Ishii, dude. I'm pretty sure if you know, been keeping up with Forbidden Door and, like, just wrestling Twitter, you've seen the clip. Takeshita knocks the shit out of Ishii with that forearm, bro. And Ishii, Stone Pitbull, he could take a beating. That thing laid him out. That forearm. Good lord. We had Claudio laying in a bunch of kicks and just, like, shoot punches, if you will, even though, you know, I'm sure they're chill. But Claudio, you know, really throwing the vibe out that him and Kingston hate each other, and he is stomping on Kingston. Lots of Eddie and Mox drama, like I was saying, and I'm totally there for that. It was so good. Hangman and Takeshita, they had a one-on-one match in Takeshita's debut. I was at that live show. It was in Houston, and it was such a good match. And they had a bit of a confrontation in this match, a little bit of back and forth. Some forearms being thrown. Takeshita goes for a leaping forearm, and Hangman, mid-jump from Takeshita, hits him with the discus forearm. Oh, and it clocked him. It was beautiful. Play that thing in slow motion. I'd set that as like a wallpaper or something on my computer or some shit, man. Thing of beauty. Hangman, I feel, even though he's like one of the top guys, Hangman still feels a bit underrated. Like, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get enough praise. I know he's a good guy, but, like, he can go in that ring. Maybe that's just me, you know, thinking he doesn't get enough praise, but he does. But that's just my opinion. I feel like he's like a sleeper pick every time he has a match. Like, they don't think Hangman will have a match of the night, but then he usually does. We have the Young Bucks. They go for a double super kick on Moxley. They hit him a couple super kicks, and then Mox is on his knees, and they're about to hit a double one. A Sizz Kiz, as Nick Jackson would say, but Eddie pushes Mox out the way, dives in front of him, and shoves him out, and eats the kicks. Which you would think that would be like the match ender, like, oh, Eddie, what the hell? And then, you know, someone gets rolled up or hit out of nowhere. But no, Team Elite, Eddie and Ishii get the match. Ishii hits a brainbuster on Yuta for the win, which Bryan said that he's going to slap the shit out of Yuta for losing the match, and yeah, good on him. Have him do some more neck bridges on some weird mountains or something. But it was a very nice match. Like I was saying, everybody had some good moments. Move after move. Mox and Eddie drama was probably the center of it all. And I'm assuming they'll do some blood and guts stuff. I wish Bryan would be a part of it. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to do the same 5-man. I don't think Ishii will be there. I don't think Umino will be there. So let's, you know, we're 23 minutes in and we don't have too much left to go through. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 matches left. So let's see what Blood and Guts might look like. We can do Hangman, Kenny. Oh yeah, wait, yeah, we can do Hangman, Kenny, the Bucks, and then Eddie. That's 5. I think it's 5-on-5, right? It might be 4-on-4. I don't know. Let's just say 5-on-5. And then we got Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, Takeshita, and one more. There's probably someone right in front of me that I'm not thinking about. Maybe Umino could step back into it. But who would BCC's 5th guy be? They might keep it to 4. Maybe Kenny will set this one out. So it'll be Hung Bucks and Eddie going against BCC and Takeshita. I don't know. I can't remember what... I'm pretty sure it's been 5-on-5 in the past. I don't know. I don't know who the hell BCC will get. Who hates... Well, I was gonna say who hates Hangman and the Bucks, and well, yeah, I don't think Punk's gonna be in Blood and Guts, even though that would be fantastic. But yeah, we'll move on. We had some women's division action. We had Toni Storm defending the AEW Women's Championship against Willow Nightingale, who's been just a highlight of the women's division in AEW. I love her. Sky Blue has been doing great. I love that they're pushing these two like new like baby faces. Like, hey, these two are gonna take out the Outcast too. They're always like running in and helping each other out. Good stuff. A lot of Outcast interference. I wasn't the biggest fan of this match at the beginning because it was just Saraya and Ruby yelling a bunch and constantly like tugging on the legs of Willow. It's like, we get it, you're heels and you're the mean girls and the spray paint and the loser symbol. It's like, y'all could do so much better than just petty, like, here's an L for you. Like, that's like Bella Twin stuff. Like, it's already been done. And the spray paint, it never looks good. They spray somebody with it, you can't even tell it's an L. You only know it's an L because they kind of do the shape of it. And then, you know, Paige always has the L over her head all the time. Which, it is what it is. I'm not the biggest fan of the Outcast, but it's definitely an improvement from what they were doing like a few months ago at least. At least we're getting people on TV. Ruby Soho had a point in time where she wasn't on TV as much after her debut in AEW, so I'm glad she's getting some TV time. But yeah, Willow hit a Death Valley driver on the apron, then back in the ring hit another one on Toni Storm. Good stuff, good power moves from Willow Nightingale. The referee eventually ejects Saraya and Soho from the ringside area. Goodbye, thank you. Toni and Willow trade some shots, and Toni is trapped in an Indian deathlock by Willow Nightingale, and they're just, you know, Tony's throwing some shots at Willow, and Willow's like, all right, bet, and, you know, hits Toni some more, so good little back and forth while in a submission. Toni Storm, bro, I know this is probably everybody's favorite move from Toni Storm, but that running hip attack looks like it kills every person she fights, bro. The first time I saw it, I think it was against Britt Baker. Holy shit, man. How do... I don't know, you know, wrestling magic, and I don't know their secrets sometimes for some of those dangerous moves, but god dang, she throws everything she has into that hip attack. But she's going for her big running hip attack into the corner, but Willow gets up, pounce! And, you know, cool stuff. I love Willow's pounce. So, when she did the Ruby Soho and her head hit the barricade on Collision, holy shit, man. But then we had another kind of MJF type finish. It was kind of lame. Because it happens so often with, like, heel stuff. Not so much in AEW, mainly MJF's, like, shtick as a chicken shit heel who can actually wrestle. But Toni Storm isn't, like, really a chicken shit heel. She can actually wrestle, and she's always, like, the, like, aggressive wrestler. But she pulls the referee in front of her. Willow has to move the referee out of the way. Eye gouge, and then immediately hits the Storm Zero, that pile driver, for the win. Nothing crazy in this match, but it was nice. It was a good women's match. So yeah, it was fine. So, yeah, I want more women's matches that have, like, a huge impact on the show. Like, there hasn't been a good, not good, but you know what I mean. Like, there's been good women's matches, but there hasn't been, like, a standout women's pay-per-view match for AEW since maybe Jamie Hayter versus somebody. I can't even think. Because the triple threat Double or Nothing wasn't anything too crazy. Not Double or Nothing, Revolution, where Ruby turned heel, but Double or Nothing, it was Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter, and they had to do the whole injury kind of angle thing more than a match, and that's when Toni won the title. I just know Jamie Hayter's been having a lot of good title defenses on TV. So, yeah, you know, maybe when Jamie Hayter won the title, that was like the last good women's pay-per-view match that felt like, oh shoot, this was match of the night almost. But yeah, that's just my complaint. I wish women's division would get more like huge matches or huge match feel. But we're moving on to my match of the night. I'm pretty sure everybody's match of the night. Omega versus Ospreay. IWGP US title. Ospreay comes out with Don Callis, and Don Callis brings his like little personal security. They look so goofy. I mean, maybe that's like how security guards look in Canada or something. Or like they look like evil henchmen. They look so goofy. But Kenny comes out to his New Japan theme. It makes him feel like a final boss. I love his New Japan theme. So yeah, early in the match we get some Oz Cutter and one-winged angel attempts. Callis grabs Omega's leg when going for that Terminator dive, and the ref immediately, like early on, surprisingly, sends Don Callis to the back. Goodbye, Don Callis, but he'll be back later. And there was just so many big spots in this match, or so many like things that left me like my face throughout this match. It was like I was watching a horror film, bro. Oh my god. There's a spot where Omega's hung up, like gut first on the top rope. Ospreay does a shooting star press onto the back of Omega, and then when Omega gets back up on the apron, he hits an Oz cutter on the apron. And then, call back to their New Japan match, Kenny was bashing Ospreay's head into one of those Japanese tables. He did the little, here's Johnny, poking his head through the broken wood. Very nice. I love their Wrestle Kingdom match back in January. Very good. But this time, Ospreay's like, I'm going to kick the shit out of you, Kenneth. And he is bashing poor Omega's head into the announcer's table. That, like, the cover on it. And oh my god. And he leans it up against the apron, and he throws Omega head first, and you hear like a small thud when Omega hits that announce table lid. Holy shit. And so Omega's bleeding, and damn. It's just that thud, dude. Oh my god. So Ospreay then has, oh my god. Ospreay has some of Omega's blood on his arm, and he like slowly lifts his arm up, and he licks the blood off his arm. The crowd are like, you sick fuck. You sick fuck. And yeah, what a sick fuck. Will Ospreay hits a V-trigger on Omega, and then he steals a Canadian flag later on. He wipes his ass with it. He puts in, I don't know why he decided to put it in his mouth and kind of hold it like with his teeth. After he wiped his ass with it. Maybe don't do that, Will. But Omega clotheslines him when Ospreay had the flag still in his mouth, and that Canadian flag goes flying. Omega wraps the flag around Ospreay's neck and is like whipping him around the ring, throwing him. He hangs him over the top rope with the Canadian flag. So sorry about that, I guess. But very fun little flag spots, country representation, countryman Kenny Omega. But yeah, let's see here. I have some notes. There's so many spots. I wanted to make sure I got them all, because if you didn't see the show, I want to tell you what you're missing just in case you want to go and maybe order it and watch it for yourself. Because this match, if you only had to watch one match from the show, or if you're not even an AEW or indie wrestling or any like outside of WWE kind of like viewer, this match, if you're into like some hard hitting brutal stuff, like not death match levels of stuff, but like hard hitting, like oh my god, they're laying it in on one another. This is a match to watch. This is probably going to be the match of the year. This probably could sneak into my top 10 matches of all time. It was so brutal, so good. But anyways, moving back, they're outside the ring, and Kenny now has Will Ospreay busted open. And wait, what? I'm looking at my nerds. What am I doing? Kenny bashes Ospreay's head into the steel steps on the outside, and Ospreay is leaking blood, like puddles of it are forming on the floor. And then he stands the steel steps up on its side, goes up there with Will Ospreay, and his blood is all over Omega, and he DDTs him on the steps that are like stood up sideways. What the hell? Back in the ring, here's where you notice all the blood all over. It's not even Omega's blood, or it's probably some of his blood, but it's mainly Ospreay's blood. He has him in like a triangle hold or something. And oh my god, Kenny's whole torso looked like he just murdered somebody. He was covered in blood. Damn. Will Ospreay locks in a sharpshooter because, oh Canada. And then he locks in the crossface, and the crowd chant "You sick fuck" again, and oof, I'm surprised more people on Twitter weren't talking about that one. But Ospreay goes for the Oz cutter, and Omega's kind of just like, lights are on but nobody's home kind of thing. And so when Ospreay bounces back off the Oz cutter, Omega just boom lifts his knee up without a care in the world, connects to the back of the head, about like shoulder area of Will Ospreay. Holy shit, god, that was, oh my god. Later on, a huge high, there weren't very many like high spots, like giant like flippity dippities, but Ospreay hits, they called it the Sky Twister. It's like a moonsault, like kind of like a corkscrew moonsault kind of thing. He hit that flawlessly to the outside of the ring. Kenny is standing on the outside, does his backflip, little spin around, Sky Twister. Sky Twister press is what they call it. And that was perfect. But then, speaking of perfect, what's not perfect is Callis comes back down to the ring. Will Ospreay is against the ropes. Omega hits a V-trigger, and Don's like, no, 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 and he's holding on the will. And Omega's like, all right, you little rat, get the hell over here. And at one point, the ref's like trying to get Don off of Will because, he's holding on to him. And while Don's holding on to the referee, he takes a screwdriver out of his pocket, hands it to Will Ospreay. Omega sets Will Ospreay up for the one-winged angel. And, oh, buddy, we got some flashbacks. Stabs Omega at the top of the head with a screwdriver. Bops him on the head with it. Then a hidden blade and a stormbreaker. 1, 2, Kenny gets his foot on the rope last second. That was one of the best rope breaks I think I've ever seen. But then here's where I thought the match was going to end. It's like, oh, we're done. I thought it was going to end off that screwdriver spot. But that'd be a couple losses in, to that screwdriver, death triangle feud. So, Kenny's gotten used to the screwdriver shots. But Ospreay hits a one-winged angel, and Kenny Omega kicks out at 1. Holy shit. Only person in AEW to kick out of the one-winged angel, and it was Kenny Omega. Go figure. Kicked out at 1. Just as good as the BT trigger, the Golden Lover's knee thing from the Young Bucks at Revolution 2020. Probably even better than that, because it was the one-winged angel. But Ospreay, here's the big move of the match that everybody's talking about. Ospreay hits Omega with a Tiger Driver 91, and Omega lands terribly on his neck. I saw a picture earlier where it looks like a sliver, of space. It looks like he landed on his shoulder more, but like from the camera angle, like from our point of view looking at the match, it looks like he is dropped terribly on his neck. I like jolted back in my chair and my mouth was just wide open. A couple of flies probably flew in there. Holy shit, dude. I thought Omega broke his neck. Good God. The referee was even checking on him like, hey man, you good? Damn. But Omega kicks out of that, lo and behold. I was like, that was so scary. And then Ospreay hits a Stormbreaker again and wins the match, becomes US champion. If you can't tell by like how excited I am, just reliving this match in my head, reading it off my notes. Holy shit, these guys tried to kill each other. Damn. 5 stars, dude. Give them, not even, I know the whole Meltzer scale shit is not, everybody's cup of tea, but that shit's getting over 5 stars. If that gets 4.5 or under, unacceptable. That shit was fantastic. But now we have not necessarily a cool down match because everybody in this match is cool. We have Naito, Sting, and Darby against Les Suzuki Gods, Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, and Minoru Suzuki. And cool. We have Naito and Sammy doing a little pose off. Sammy does this little spinny thing. He's like, look at me stick my tongue out. I'm so cool and pretty. Then Naito does his tranquilo pose. Very nice. We saw Takeshita knock the shit out of Ishii with a forearm. Suzuki says, bet. Does the same thing to Darby. Darby's trying to test him, but he gets hit with a gnarly forearm from Suzuki. Murder Grandpa, they call him that for a reason. He will not hesitate to knock you out and murder you. Sting gets tagged in. Jericho gets tagged in. There's a spot where Jericho throws Sting in the corner, and Jericho does the Sting yell. He goes, ah! And he runs at the corner for a Stinger Splash and misses. Jericho, when he's not being, I'm going to beat up your girlfriend, Adam Cole, when he's not like that, and he's just being silly guy, I'm a wizard, whatever, that kind of stuff. Jericho's a funny guy. When he's in the right moments and right matches and stories, Jericho is lovely to watch. As long as he just doesn't overstay his welcome in the feud. Well, this was a little one-off little match. I mean, they're going to continue it on Dynamite with Sting Darby against Sammy and Jericho. But nevertheless, going back to the match, nothing too crazy in the match, a couple fun spots. Sammy does a 630 to Sting through a table on the outside. I think Sting was probably supposed to move out the way. He kind of got right up soon after, but it wasn't Sting no-sold it, but it was I think he was supposed to roll off the table. But Sammy pretty much nails it. Naito and Sting work together to get the win. I think they pin Minoru Suzuki, but then afterwards Jericho attacks Naito with Floyd, the bat, and then Sting grabs the bat from Jericho and hits Jericho with it. So the crowd, even though they were a bit tired, they were still kind of into it. The end did feel a bit rushed when they were working together, Naito and Sting, at that last little bit. I don't know if Sting maybe felt a little bit oof after that 630 through the table, but it was an alright match. Nice little breather before Okada versus Danielson. Now, before we move on to the main event, Okada and Danielson, in the media scrum, we have Jericho running in while Sting and Darby are answering some questions, mainly Sting. Nobody asked poor Darby a question. And he's like, "Oh, F you, Sting, stay out of my business, yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna grab a water bottle and swing bada bada." He nails the water bottle with the bat, and it hits a poor reporter or media scrum attendee, whatever the heck, in the head, and there's reports that he was bleeding a bit from it, so holy shit. And Jericho's just like, "That's what you get." And so yeah, we're getting a tornado tag match, Sting and Darby against Guevara and Jericho, but not just any, simple Jericho match. We're getting the Painmaker, baby. We're getting Painmaker Jericho. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to that tornado match on Dynamite tonight. But here we go. It's time for the main event. Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson. Who's the best in the world? We'll find out. Who's the greatest wrestler of all time? We'll find out. Bryan Danielson comes out to the final countdown. The crowd are going nuts for it. When he gets on the ropes and does a little pose, they all go, "Final countdown," and it's so good, bro. When wrestling fans are together and they're just chanting for what they like or doing whatever, even if it's Bailey, ooh, ah, I want to know if you want to be my girl. Just when everybody's chanting together, it's a good time. The crowd, speaking of crowd chant, god dang. Speaking of crowd chants, we have chants for everybody. We have, "You're gonna get your fucking head kicked in." Then they chant for Okada, and then they chant for both these guys. Both these guys. Very good. The crowd has been helping the show a lot. We have Danielson. He's going after the shoulder of Okada. Throughout the whole match, I don't think there's a point, or I don't think there's a stretch in time where one guy is just dominating. It's very even back and forth stuff throughout this match. Okada does a running jump over the barricade to crossbody Danielson. Danielson hits a big missile drop kick, and they start trading uppercuts. As we get later onto these podcasts, the longer recording sessions, I stumble more and more. I'm just, I don't want it to be too long. I like them to be under an hour, a little over an hour maybe. But we're at 42 minutes, so, if you're still here, type an uppercut in the comments. I don't know. But they start trading some moves. Danielson hits a couple corner drop kicks. Then Okada hits a couple of his beautifully, timed and placed peak precision drop kicks. If you've never seen an Okada drop kick, it's so beautiful. It's it makes me want to shed a tear. But yeah, the match is very even. They go onto the ramp. Danielson goes for Tope Suicida, and a lot of Rainmaker attempts, the Rainmaker Lariat. But Bryan counters the Rainmaker on the outside, but Kazuchika scoops him up, Tombstone on the entrance ramp, and here's where Bryan Danielson decides to do a little bit of a theater performance here. He does not move at all. He is motionless. And then he starts kind of twitching a little bit. It's oh god. Oh no. Now we have the doctor coming in, and I think Doc Sampson is checking on him. Okada's I just want to keep beating his ass. And Bryan is kind of twitching. It's Bryan does that shit all the damn time. And big matches where if he gets hits with a big move, he kind of he does the thing where he grasps his hands, he opens and closes them and kind of shakes them to see if he still has feeling in them. And it's oh god, Bryan, you little fuck. But knowing how Bryan was so cheery in the media scrum, he's always a delight in those media scrums the past few he's been on. It makes me feel better about thinking about spots like that where he's faking his little twitches and stuff. But while Bryan Danielson, I mentioned his broken arm earlier, the broken arm came from the elbow drop. He was laying absolutely still. He didn't get his arms up to brace the impact of the elbow drop. So, I was thinking about this. I'm sure maybe it wasn't this, but him doing the whole, oh, I'm gonna lay motionless and only twitch every now and then, kind of was the reason he got the broken arm, because Okada did a big elbow drop and Bryan just laying there still instead of like where they kind of tighten up when the elbow's about to hit. But the elbow is what did it. The elbow is what broke the arm. I think that's what Danielson said. And a little bit later on, Bryan's getting fired up by a drop kick. A lot of rainmakers and running knees. Bryan counters. A German suplex lands on his feet. Hits another running knee. And then, so we reach the end. A lot of kickouts. A lot of rainmakers and running knees. Bryan has the label lock locked in. And then Kazuchi's kind of getting near the ropes. And then Bryan bends the arm back with his foot and starts pushing on him like a Zack Sabre Jr. submission. Like, it looks so painful. And Okada taps out. I think it was probably in the middle of writing notes like, oh, this submission looks very painful. And Okada tapped out. And I typed in my notes before the scrum, before I knew Danielson had his broken arm. But it's like, this ending felt a little weird. I thought they would go at least like another 10 minutes. But it was still a good match. Very back and I love when a match is very back and forth. Like, sure, it's nice when the big heel dominates a match and then we get some comeback stuff. But this match was extremely back and forth. Both guys looked really even against one another. A shame that Bryan Danielson had the injured arm. But he wrestled, I think like 10 extra minutes with that broken arm. So that was like, oof. Good on you, Bryan, but also, oof. So yeah, it was not the finish I was expecting. The submission looked brutal enough, though, to where, like, if it was kind of like a lame submission, like, locks in the yes lock, he taps out, it's like, oh, okay. It's like, maybe later on, yeah, or if he held it in for a long time. But that transition submission that he did where he was bending the arm back, then putting his foot and like, God, I'm just trying to do it with my arm now, like bend my arm in like a weird way. Oh, damn. So, and apparently he's the first person to tap out Okada in, I think it was like 8 years. I think the last person to make Okada tap out was Shinsuke Nakamura. So, OMG. Big W for Bryan Danielson right there. But yeah, even in the scrum, he said it contributed to the finish of the match. They didn't get to do everything they wanted. Shit happens. It is what it is. It's wrestling. But there you go. That is Forbidden Door. Nice little rundown. More matches I laid out in detail than others. I didn't know how I wanted to do it. That's why maybe starting around the 10-man tag is when I started getting the details about certain moves. But Forbidden Door, good show. If Bryan didn't get injured and the match went another 10 minutes, would have been a 9 out of 10 show. And then maybe add in the women's match being a bit more, and then the Sonata Jack Perry match being a bit more. Nothing was bad on the show. It's just, last year's show was so fun and so good, even with all the injuries going around, that I thought, well, now that nobody's injured, except for Adam Cole, who got sick and had to cancel out of the match against Tom Lawler, which sucks, but, make sure nobody else gets sick. That's the important thing. And I'm sure we'll see Tom Lawler on AEW sooner enough. They'll give him his chance to get maybe like a rematch or something. Or not even a rematch, they didn't have it yet. But yeah, nothing disappointing about the show. Like, everything, if a match wasn't good, it was a match that my expectations weren't too high for it anyway, so it's like, okay, it did what I wanted, good for them. You had some matches I thought were going to be basic and just okay, but ended up being really fun, like the Punk and Kojima match and the Fatal 4-Way. I knew the Fatal 4-Way was going to be fun, but it wasn't one of my top matches that I was thinking about. But yeah, so overall it was a good show. I wish more matches had some more time. Kenny and Ospreay match of the night. Punk Kojima, probably my sleeper match of the night. Lots of drama in that 5-man tag, or the 10-man tag. I'd say an 8.5 out of 10 would be like my rating for this show. I don't think I'm going to give a rating every like pay-per-view I cover for the podcast. But if I were to, this would be an 8.5 out of 10. If I watched it again, it'd probably like go to a little bit of a 9. I really did enjoy the show. But yeah, good ass show, man. That's gonna do it for me. I think this episode's maybe like about the same length as the last one, the first episode. Next week will be, since I covered Forbidden Door 2023 on this episode, it's only right if we do some Money in the Bank 2023 action next episode on the podcast. So I will see you then. We'll talk about some Money in the Bank next week. Hopefully the show is good this Saturday. But I will see you next Wednesday for another episode of the podcast. But before then, I will see you tomorrow and Friday. Oh yeah, we got a big week coming. Maybe I'll upload some shorts as well. But I'll see you when I see you, which will be tomorrow. So, I don't know why I'm doing this shit. Okay, goodbye!